Good morning to our universal philosophical community, the White Tower. Today's topic is Zeno of Elea. Let's present a biography of Zeno, nutshell. He was the eminently talented student of Parmenides, the first thinker of ancient philosophy, who formulated the theory of being and opened the way to the ontological understanding of the universal world. Now, the philosophical approach between two men so close, and it was considered to be an act of adoption. Now, Zeno tried to support the ontology of Parmenides, and his arguments are a kind of indirect evidence. Now, Zeno uses a unique methodology, that of a dialectical method, developing an argument using comparisons and contrasts until full concepts and interrelational links are formed as paradoxes. Now, he starts by assuming that the argument of his opponent is right, then tries to prove it wrong through the process of elimination. Now, the opposing positions are that there is a multiplicity of things and movement of being, and also that being is divisible. Now, let's see how Zeno's paradoxes play out by presenting his arguments against multiplicity. The first example being that of multiple things in relation to size. Now, Zeno says that if we accept that there are many things, then they must have different sizes, that is, being both large and small at the same time. On the one hand, big enough to be infinite in size, and on the other hand, so small that they have no size at all, that is, being zero. But zero, according to Zeno, is not a thing. Therefore, if we accept the existence of things, that the fact that there are many things, then they must only have an infinite size, since they cannot exist as zero. So the original assumption that many things are both large and small at the same time is wrong. Now, here is an example with multiple things in relation to number. If things are many, Zeno says, their number must be finite. Why? Because things by number are neither less nor more. But there's also the case that many things in number also means that there are others among them, and others among these others. And this leads to infinity. And in that respect, many things could also be infinite. But finite and the infinite number of things cannot be true at the same time. So the above concluding sentences, that is, many things must be finite and infinite at the same time, are excluded, and the initial assumption, the fact that there are many things, is also excluded. And this exclusion, the dichotomy of being, is simultaneously excluded as well. Now let's see how paradoxes play out in terms of motion. And let's examine three paradoxes regarding motion. The first one being the paradox of the stage. Now, Zeno says motion is impossible because this leads to contradictions. So if we assume that motion exists, we're having a problem. So Zeno says, let's take a moving body, a runner. A runner has to cover a distance from A to B. And before reaching the end of the stage, the end of the line, that is point B, must first cover half the distance, say from A to C. And then the next half must be also cut in another half. And we go on cutting these distances in halves to an infinite amount. So a space consisting of an infinite series of points, according to Zeno, is impossible to traverse in a finite time. So it seems as if the runner cannot even start. Now let's take the second paradox, paradox of Achilles. Achilles is a very fast body, but can never reach a slower body, that is a turtle, moving in front of him. So if we suppose that the turtle precedes Achilles by 10,000 meters at the time of the start, the moment Achilles reaches the turtle itself will still be 10 meters ahead of Achilles, and so on. So it seems that Achilles could never reach the turtle. And why? Because the turtle, as an advanced moving body, is separated from the other moving body, Achilles, by infinite subdivisions of space, which Achilles cannot cover. So, on the one hand, observation shows that Achilles reaches the turtle if we take into account the factor of time. But on the other hand, reason seems to prove the opposite. That is, Achilles never reaches the turtle. So by this argument, Zeno wants to prove that being cannot move, and in a way proves Parmenides, his teacher, right. And let's also take the paradox of the arrow. An arrow, says Zeno, appears to be moving, but at each instant of time, it covers a space which equals its dimensions. And within that space, the arrow itself remains stationary, as if it is at rest at every instant of time, which actually corresponds to every such part of space. So Zeno tries to prove the indivisibility of both time and space, and by that the arrow is stationary in space, and also that the arrow is stationary in time. So it does not move either space, and also it stays still in time. Now, what's the basis of Zeno's argument? That time is composed of indivisible moments without duration. And this position is consistent with Parmenides' position that being, nor was it ever, nor will it be, since it is now, together, one, holding together. It is right either fully to be, that is, a being or a thing can only be considered to be, indivisibility of time, and not to have been will be. That is, time has no duration. And also the fact that reason shows that fundamental tenets of the common mind is there are many things and everything involves contradiction or leads to a progression to infinity, which does not work. So in a sense, reason becomes autonomous and it ceases to serve being. And a concluding statement by Hegel, Zeno's argument. Hegel's speech resonated in a similar way in history of philosophy by saying that Zeno grasped definitions contained in our representation of space and time. He had awareness, knowledge of them, demonstrated a contradictory character. General element of dialectic, the general proposition of the Eleatic school was the true is only the one. All others are untrue. And that the meaning of Zeno's dialectic has greater objectivity than modern dialectic. So thanks a lot for listening, and we'll be waiting for you to sign in our philosophical community and also subscribe to our YouTube channel. Have a nice day.